Welcome to episode 035 of the Bit Beacon broadcast. It's May 20th, 2024. I'm here, Kodax.
Ravenheart.
He's here. Let's get going. Have you been playing or buying anything lately?
Yeah, so, before I get into it, I wanted to give you your birthday gift.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll talk about what I've been buying.
Right. This is a surprise.
Yep.
Totally didn't see the giant bag sitting there.
So, start with the card.
There's a card here.
You'll notice that I didn't seal the envelope.
I appreciate it for brevity.
Yeah.
And so there's not a whole bunch of...
Right.
But maybe we could have got some ASMR of,
You did that a little fast.
Missed opportunity. Okay. So I have this birthday card that's pretty awesome. It's a Pokemon birthday card. It's from Hallmark.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a legit,
100%.
copyright 2022.
It's not some knockoff printed at Kinko's thing.
So it has Pikachu and Eevee on the front covers. Oh, there's something else in. Hold on, sorry. It says amazing energy, electric brightness, high-powered fun, and it says there's fun Pokemon stickers inside.
Yeah, it's got like a sticker collection inside.
And it says, you've got everything it takes to be a true champion. Happy birthday. And you know what I really appreciate is Rick didn't actually write on the card. He wrote another little note that he slipped inside the card.
I thought about all that.
So you can keep the card pristine.
Yes. Well, that's official memorabilia.
That's merch right there. Yeah, you don't want to write on merch.
No.
How foolish. Okay, it says, happy birthday, dude. The Bit Beacon broadcast has been a success. 35 episodes. Wow! I think we should title this one something related to your birthday. It'll come to me. A Bit Beacon birthday. I don't know. Anyways, happy birthday. Enjoy the gift. Ravenheart. Wow, this is very thoughtful. I love the card. I haven't received a card for
it's been a few years.
Okay. Alright, so there's a shirt. Some kind of Super Mario shirt. I'm just going to unfurl it now. And it's the Mario Kart shirt that Rick was wearing not too many episodes ago.
You said you really liked it.
I really do like it.
Yeah.
I like the kind of vintagey sort of vibe it's got going on. And it's size medium, which is perfect. That's my size. Thank you very much.
I know you have a lot of shirts.
I do.
To the point you've gotten rid of some in the past, so I wasn't sure if I should get you a shirt.
I did have to get rid of some shirts at some point. Yeah, right. But I have space for a Mario Kart shirt in the closet. I won't get rid of anything.
That's good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
maybe I should change into that shirt later.
Yeah.
Or I got another shirt that I'm already wearing we can talk about.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And getting into what
It's not my birthday quite yet.
That's true, yeah.
Speaking of which, normally we would record on a Monday, right?
Right.
So next Monday is my birthday.
Right.
So I don't think we'll be able to record then. Because I might have plans on my birthday. Right. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe we can.
Well, then this was times appropriate.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's good.
But maybe we record Tuesday next week. We'll talk about that later.
Okay. So you asked me what I've been buying.
Yeah. Buying or playing?
So I picked up, last night I placed my order for Hades, this Super Giant title.
Yes.
And one of our dedicated listeners who's heard every episode, Justin, hey Justin, recommended it to me and showed me like a boss fight last night. Mm-hmm. And I was pretty sold on the game. So I'm going to be playing Hades as soon as I get it.
Okay.
I'll probably have it in like a week.
Okay.
And then hopefully I'll have it before our next recording.
Right.
So I can talk about it a little bit. But it looks just like a Super Giant game.
Yeah. It's got like I've never played it, but I know it has like the rogue-like elements where you die and then come back sort of a thing. It's
got that same signature isometric adventure style look.
It's easily been their most biggest and successful game to date.
It has a sequel in early access.
It does, yeah. Super Giant has historically never made a sequel to any one of their games,
right.
But I guess they still had a lot of ideas.
I was also inspired to buy it just because it's Supergiant.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with them.
We've met them like at different cons and stuff.
They were at the very first PlayStation experience.
Yeah, they were displaying Bastion, and I think Transistor was
Transistor was... You want to know something crazy?
What?
Today, exactly, is the 10th anniversary of Transistor's release.
Oh, really?
Yes, today, May 20th.
Wow.
So on May 20th, 2014... Transistor release, and that game like blew me away.
How did you know that just off the top of your head?
I've been seeing people on social media. They started selling some new shirt via Fangamer as like a anniversary thing.
That's cool.
So that literally just happened today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Breaking news, guys.
Transistor's 10.
Yeah. That's crazy to think that it's 10 years old.
Kind of scary.
Yeah, I remember when that game came out. One of my favorite soundtracks for a game, I think.
Oh, yeah. I think Ashley Barrett and Darren Korb, they do the music for all of Supergiant's games.
Does she do the vocals?
I know she does the vocals. I don't know if she contributes more beyond that. I have to suspect she does because they're like a duo. You know, they do a lot together.
Right.
But yeah, I know she does the vocals, which
they're great.
They're haunting.
Amazing. But anyways, so I look forward to playing Hades. And I look forward to the sequel coming out. Hopefully I get through the first game.
Right.
By then. I think it's going to be next year or something.
Yeah, it's in early access, and they don't have any estimated release date. But yeah, I don't want to sound critical of Supergiant.
Sure.
I never do.
Sure.
But I do have to wonder what their motivations were for making Hades 2.
Why?
I mean, like, Hades was a huge success.
Right.
Lots of merchandise, events, concerts, a lot of money being made.
I'm sure. Well, that's not... There's nothing, nothing wrong with
I'm not coming down on
it. Like, we have a successful hit.
Yeah.
Let's make a sequel.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I know. It's just they kind of broke their promise that they wouldn't, never really make sequels.
Did they ever promise that?
I don't know if they ever specifically said, we will never make a sequel.
Yeah.
But they sort of, implied that, we don't do sequels, We move on to a new idea after every game.
Verbally they implied that? Or...
So there's been interviews and stuff.
Okay.
I know it's come up. I've seen people, talking about it online. They're like, wow, they're making a sequel. They, they don't do that,
Right.
I would have killed for some kind of new game set somehow Transistor related or something,
Yeah.
But they moved on to that sort of weird, basketball camping game.
Spire?
Spire.
Or Pyre.
Pyre. That's what it was, yeah.
I like that. I don't know if I would sit down and play it on, for hours on end, but yeah, it's like a fantasy sports title.
Yeah.
It's kind of a unique thing.
It's unique. I just that gameplay. I'm interested in the world of Pyre and the story and what happens in the game, but I don't know.
It's to describe the gameplay for the audience. You have 3 different sorcerers on each side, on each team. One's kind of like a short, fat one. One's like a medium-sized one, and then a really tall, skinny guy.
Yeah.
And they each have different abilities, and the object is to get this stone orb in one of either side circle on the ground, and it's this sports thing. And I guess you can take out the other sorcerers on the other team. So yeah, it's basically like soccer or something.
Yeah.
But with magic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I played the demo.
Yeah, PSX.
Yeah.
I don't know. One of the years it was in Anaheim.
Right.
They were there.
Right. I would play that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would sit down and treat it the same way as I plan on doing for Hades.
Yeah.
But I think it's an interesting thing they did. As far as them making a sequel, I have no qualms with that.
Right.
I think I'll be critical. I think that idea, we're never going to make a sequel, is kind of immature. Okay. And it's kind of limiting, really limiting.
I think maybe at one point they were we're artists.
Yeah.
We don't do that here.
I'm glad to see them come down off of that.
Okay.
If anything. So I got no issue with sequels. If you have a good game that's really successful, a lot of people love it, why not expand on that
if
universe?
The team is still excited about it
right.
and wants to do more with the general gameplay idea, then do it.
Exactly.
If you're doing it purely like you're doing it like begrudgingly, like I don't want to do this, but we're gonna do it because we want to make money, then I guess maybe that's the wrong way to go about it. But if like,
or you're doing it because the franchise is like $1 billion franchise, and they're just making you do it.
Like you have shareholders, and hopefully they never get to that point.
Right. Yeah. Let's hope not. They're still independent, right? Or
as far as I'm aware, they're wholly private. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
They're definitely like squarely AA at this point, in my view.
Yeah, they're like what people would refer to as like a AAA indie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good to see they maintain their independence.
Yeah.
Other than that, I did play a little bit of Scarlet again, just
a couple more shiny hunts.
Yeah, shiny hunts. I really, every time I turn it on, I really am like, I'm going to finish the DLC and get to the next DLC.
Right.
And then I look at the map and see all the different outbreaks.
I need that one, I need that one, I need that one.
Yeah. And it's like, I can do one.
Yeah.
You know? It's sitting down and trying to do 3 outbreaks, like those days are over for me. It's just too many I don't have 6 hours to sink into RNG stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
There's only a couple shinies I still need that I can even get from outbreaks at this point. Like I need a Dynamo.
Oh yeah.
But like that one,
that's super hard.
That's an annoying outbreak to do.
You're almost better off just waiting for it to happen and like Pokemon Go or something.
That, or I would rather just because I already have both of his evolutions. But yeah, I do not have.
And it's in the water, so you can't like use your camera app or any of that stuff to help.
It's miserable, yeah. So I think I just need to hatch that one.
Yeah.
Which that's time consuming because collecting a couple hundred eggs takes forever.
Yeah. I do like the way, I know this isn't your favorite thing about Scarlet and Violet, but I do like the hatching process because I feel like you can quickly collect 50 eggs and
I know in some ways there's definitely a benefit. I don't like that it's tied to like the whole food sandwich thing.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
Like that's annoying to me. Like I should just be able to go into the picnic or whatever and just I don't know, I don't like having to make a sandwich every 30
minutes. You don't have to make a sandwich to get an egg. You have to just have the 2 Pokemon together.
Right, but the rate at which you get eggs without a sandwich is true. Like 1 hour.
You have to get like an egg sandwich.
An egg boosting sandwich, which sounds ridiculous to those uninformed.
Right.
Talking about.
Yeah, what are they talking about?
We won't go into it, but needless to say, certain sandwiches make your Pokemon want to bang more and produce eggs for you.
Well, we don't know if they bang. It's never been like indicated that they do. We assume that
that's what's going on.
Right.
I mean, I guess they could just hold hands and that combines their DNA.
They got all these other powers.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't know what goes on.
But I mean, we know that like Pokemon have
gender and
genitalia, maybe even.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen a Pokemon's genitalia.
No,
but
I have to assume it's like retractable or something.
Anyways, that's all I've been playing. Really, I don't have much else to report.
Okay, so last week I said I was gonna start playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Yeah.
And
speaking of sequels,
so again, Assassin's Creed Syndicate was a 2015 game. And it's set in 1860s London. I think I said last week that it was like around shortly before World War One. That's not accurate. It's 1860s, so still another 60 years or so before World War, 50, 60 years before World War One.
Okay.
And it's an Assassin's Creed game through and through. There's some cool stuff that I like about it. I really do like London. I mean, I will say it is 1800s London is very like dirty and black and brown, and there's just smokestacks.
It's everywhere. Like Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, it's kind of a really grimy kind of look to it, which I enjoy. There's these cool like train heist things you can do in the game, which is something I don't think I had ever seen in an Assassin's Creed. Well, probably because there hasn't been trains in any of this. Might be the most modern Assassin's Creed game now that I think about it, in terms of like the time period.
Right.
Because most of the Assassin's Creed games, some of them are set BC even.
Right.
You know, and only a handful.
Well, I know like Valhalla is probably the oldest, right?
That there's an Egypt one, which is pretty old.
Okay.
But yeah, Valhalla is probably pretty old. I haven't played that one yet. But a couple things I want to specifically mention about Syndicate is that since this is one of the older games, they had this thing called like 100% synchronization.
Mm-hmm.
So you go onto these missions, and you can tackle a mission however you want to like get to the. So like, let's say the mission is like assassinate this guy,
mm-hmm.
but then there's these like little optional missions that you can do within the mission. And in order to get 100% synchronization for the mission,
mm-hmm.
you have to do these little optional things. But I feel like in a way it sort of like restricts like how the player would maybe want to approach something themselves.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the game. So the object is assassinate this guy, right?
Right.
But it'll say assassinate him by doing an air assassination or something. Mm-hmm. Whereas like maybe in your head you're originally thinking like, oh, I'm gonna like sneak through the crowd and just subtly walk up to him,
right.
Give him the old stick.
Well, I mean, you could still do that.
You can, but like the game, like if you're a completionist kind of player,
right. Well, if you're a completionist kind of player, then you forego the freedom to like, you do.
Right, but what I'm saying is like the newer games, like I played the one set in Egypt a couple of years ago, which is newer than this one.
Mm-hmm.
And they got rid of the optimal requirements during missions. Mm-hmm. So they just let, you can choose how to like progress through the mission, you know? And so I remember this being one of the things that I didn't like about the older ones is that sometimes the optional things are so frustrating. Mm-hmm. It'll be like, okay, you got to get this guy, you got to kidnap him, and you got to get him like to this horse and buggy cart that you then got to like shove him in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, but you can't alert the guards to do it.
Right.
So it's like, but you can't kill anyone, you can't alert the guards, and you have to get this guy who's in like the middle of this like fortress looking thing.
Yeah.
So you have to spend an hour slowly, one by one, knocking out every guard you come across.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to approach them from behind. So you got to do all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's like, oh my god, it's so tedious. And then if you screw it up once, then you got to restart the whole thing. You know? So like stuff like that, I don't care for, and it's been kind of. At first, I wasn't doing the synchronization stuff. I was like, forget it. If I get it, great. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
But more recently, I've been like trying to challenge myself a little more, but some of them are just a pain in the butt. Like,
there's a lot of great stealth games out there with really good stories and stuff, but I have limited attention for that.
Yeah.
Like that, what you're describing is why.
Right.
But
then on the other hand of that, as a completionist, Assassin's Creed is one of the most like satisfying games to complete.
Mm-hmm. Aside
from that, because there's like a map, and the way like kind of it's a map of the city or whatever that the game is based in,
mm-hmm.
and the game is broken up into like different districts. And when you first start the game, the map is all like red and like locked.
Yeah.
And so usually there's like a particular like kind of a not a main story mission, but like a secondary sort of story mission.
Mm-hmm.
And when you complete that, it unlocks like that segment of the map, and then like things start appearing on the map, other things for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so like if you have like that sort of OCD or that like organizational like mindset, it's like it's got this very like therapeutic, like you're just kind of clearing everything and like making it look nice and cleaning up all the little icons and stuff. So I don't know, in that capacity, it is also very like, it's very soothing. It's like a very like relaxing kind of thing to go around and just methodically clearing everything out.
Gotcha.
So anyways, I've been enjoying it quite a bit more than I thought I was going to. At first, it seemed a little too janky, because the older Assassin's Creed games, movement is like very important, and so they give you a lot of like ability to like sort of unlock your character's movement in some ways, so like you can climb certain things and like walk on certain things. in a very specific sort of way, but that has also kind of brought along with it where like sometimes the character starts climbing on something or walking on something that you didn't mean for them to climb on, you know?
Yeah, okay, I know what you
so
mean.
When you're like trying to go up and down the building, and it's like the circle is go down, the X's go up. And
there's like too many systems working in the same time.
So it takes a while to like really kind of settle into it and you know, get intuitive with it. So yeah, I was struggling with that at first, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can play older Assassin's Creed games anymore. Like it's because like the one that was set in Egypt was like, it did definitely feel a lot smoother. The systems were a lot more refined. You know, it had like, that game came like 4 or 5 years later after Syndicate came out. Right. So it had the benefit of like lots and lots of games to iterate on. Because at that point, Assassin's Creed was almost yearly.
Mm-hmm. Right. For a while, I thought it was.
It was, yeah. And then they kind of started going every other year. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where they're at right now in the series.
I think they realized
they did
way too much.
And I think as we get into 4K gaming, you know, like they just can't.
Yeah.
But they have, I'm not kidding you, like 4 or 5 of their major studios around the world, each working on an Assassin's Creed title, so that way they can at least have somewhat of a regular cadence of putting them out.
Right.
But yeah, I used to be a mega Assassin's Creed junkie. Like, I was there every year for each new one. Mm-hmm. Particularly the 3 games that made up the Assassin's Creed 2 sort of trilogy. Yeah. And those games I absolutely loved. But then Assassin's Creed 3 came out and kind of like...
fell off a cliff with like... It just went in a different, like...
It didn't release in the best state, and Assassin's Creed is known for having this sort of modern-day storyline that kind of is happening in the background. Mm-hmm. The whole idea is that you're this descendant of one of these, like, ancient ancestors, and you're basically, through this crazy device, you're sort of reliving your ancestors' memories. Mm-hmm. And so there was this modern-day storyline, and in Assassin's Creed 3, it kind of culminated with a fart. Okay. Like it was like they kept building up to this crazy amazing moment, like the modern day story was like really going somewhere, and then the main character like touches an orb and he just gets electrocuted and like dies. Oh, okay. And I was like, okay, that's the end of the story.
They pulled one on you.
So yeah, I feel like the modern day stuff has kind of been an afterthought to them. Mm-hmm. They still try to include it somewhat here and there, but like I feel like there's no cohesion. It doesn't feel like it's really going anywhere with any of the games I played. So it's almost like I'd rather them just almost like forget that. Yeah. And just do what you're best at, which is like recreating these like huge, massive cities in a special point in time, you know, and just let players go crazy there.
Yeah. I got you.
Anyways, that's Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I've been playing something else, but we're going to skip that. I'll talk about it another time.
Before we move on, I wanted to bring up one other thing. Yeah. Pokemon Go, the Masterwork research. I don't know.
The new one, yeah.
I don't know if you care much about it. The Master Ball is like the...
It's not timed, so like I'll get it done eventually. Okay. But I'm not like dying to have another Master Ball in my inventory.
Just to let you know, I'm on page 3. Okay. And defeat 25 grunts awaits you.
Okay. Well, I'm right in the middle of defeating 100 grunts right now.
I figured you can like work it into
that. If I can get through page 2, I think I'm about halfway through page 2. Okay. So, and I think I still need about 40 more grunts. Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, I'll be able to
save it for that one.
I can't, dude. I'm doing every 6 hours on the dot.
Oh, you're doing...
I'm doing my grunt balloon, like, without fail, you know, because I'm trying to average 1 rocket leader a day.
Well,
but it's averaging about probably 5 a week is what I'm doing.
Page 2 is just catching stuff, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You can blow that out real fast.
Yeah. But I just gotta go spend an hour or 2.
I did it in one night.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it must be nice. Rolling around.
Just to let you know, heads up about page 3.
Okay, that is good to know.
Yeah. So, Seraphim Weekly update.
Let me get to one thing real quick. Yeah. So, this isn't an immediate event coming up, but I will be going to Anime Expo this year. Okay. And my badge showed up in the mail today.
Nice.
And this is, I believe it's July 4th through 7th. So the first day is the 4th of July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is...
That's weird.
That's You know what? I think they get a discount at the convention center. Okay. If one of the days falls on like a day like that.
Yeah.
So every year, almost without fail, I can think of like one time in the last like 6-7 years where if they haven't used the 4th of July, I think if it's on a Wednesday, they won't use it.
Oh, okay.
Because typically they want it to be Friday through Monday, or they want it to be Thursday through Sunday. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if they can incorporate the 4th of July, they will. So they can get that, whatever, 50% off that the convention center offers or whatever.
Interesting. What do you expect, or what do you anticipate?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I really hesitated about buying a badge this year. Normally, like the moment they go on sale, I grab them. Mm-hmm. But I held out for a bit. So far, there's only one. There's a couple gaming related announcemements, but they're like people who've been there before, and I'm not like dying to see them again.
Yeah.
But some of the game companies haven't really announced who's going to be there yet. Mm-hmm. Although Sega has talked a little bit. They're going to be having like a Sonic panel, and they're bringing with them like, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but it's like one of the like founding fathers of Sonic. Like one of the like 3 or 4 people who can like lay claim to like.
It's not the guy we talked about.
No. It's not the guy who went in jail.
Right. Okay.
No. This is someone else.
There's like 3 people.
Right? Yeah, there's like 3, and he's one of them who's going to be there. So I don't know if he's going to have like a signing or an industry appearance or something like that. Mm-hmm. That'd be kind of sweet if he does.
Right.
I know he was director on the Sonic Adventure games, both of them.
Oh, okay.
So it would be pretty cool to get my...
Dang, I have that on Dreamcast.
Yeah. So it would be pretty cool to meet him. I don't know if he's going to be there, but one guest that's kind of like I did not expect to see coming, and I'll talk more about it later when it comes to Anime Expo, when we actually get there. Mm-hmm. He goes by Ryukushi07 is his like name, and he's like a really, really well-known visual novel writer in Japan, known for like making like really crazy, emotional, scary, all kinds of things. Visual novels, and very few of his games have been brought to the West so far, but I guess there's like kind of a push to bring some of that over now, because like he's there via a sponsor who I think is localizing some of his works.
I think the audience for that genre is growing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And he's also going to be the writer on Konami's new internally developed Silent Hill game. Mm-hmm. Silent Hill F is what it's being called right now. So yeah, I already kind of preemptively ordered a couple of his visual novels that happen to be on PS4, only in Japan though.
You're right.
And so I'm gonna hopefully meet him, get him to sign those, and hopefully one day his games will be translated into English.
That's cool. That's worth going.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to do that one, but so far like I haven't heard anything from Square Enix or some of the other smaller niche publishers quite yet. Okay. But we'll see what happens.
Usually Namco Bandai I think is there.
They're gonna be there. They haven't. I don't think they've announced any like guests or anything, but yeah, they're definitely gonna have a huge presence there. Last year they had like 5 booths.
Really? Wow.
Last year on the floor, just like they had like a Gundam booth, a Digimon booth, a One Piece booth, and
it
was all related to Bandai Namco stuff going on.
Right.
One cool thing that they just announced that last week was that there's going to be an immersive, like in partnership with Sega, they're going to do this immersive like nighttime Yakuza. Like a dragon series event.
Cool.
And I guess like they're gonna have like the directors and producers of some of the games there.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's weird to hear Namco be tied into...
No, that's Sega.
Yeah, okay. But you said they're working with Sega.
No. Anime Expo, sorry. Anime Expo is working with Sega.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for like a special event, sorry. I switched over there.
Cool.
So yeah, there's some cool stuff going on there. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'll report back, but that's still a month and a half away.
Yeah. We got some time.
All right.
All right, Seraphim Weekly Update. So before I talk about what I've been doing, I wanted to readdress last week. You kind of challenged me a little bit on a development decision on my part.
Okay,
that
remind me.
Yeah, I'm gonna. That being the encryption and cybersecurity angle of what I've been doing.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
It's not even anything I've been doing this year. It's something I've been doing like 2 years ago.
Okay.
But you kind of, didn't seem or, didn't feel like it was completely necessary or a concern.
Initially, I had kind of felt that way. I was like, but like you said, you had already done the work a long time ago.
It's already done.
It's not costing you anything right now.
But I mean, I guess because I'm not super quick on the draw in the moment of conversation.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just, as an afterthought, like just to explain myself a little better. Like, one doesn't lock their apartment because they expect an intruder, But I anticipate having users, and whether it be 20 users or 20 million users using the leaderboards, it, doesn't matter.
Right.
It's neither here nor there. So, I wanted to implement cybersecurity to protect the integrity of those leaderboards.
Right.
I think I said something like, I'm doing it for me.
Oh, okay.
But really, no, I'm doing it to,
Initially, I wasn't thinking about the leaderboards,
right,
as being like having a local component.
I would not care nearly as much,
yeah,
if it wasn't for that.
Okay. Because people have been editing saves.
Yeah,
and
I don't care so much if a player ends up editing their save file for themselves,
right?
Like,
whatever,
Yeah. I do want to. There is another reason why I would do that, even with a single player game with no online features, and that is to protect my own trade secrets. I guess there is some of that in the game code that I don't really want to be online.
Right, but it's not like, I don't think when your game gets packaged up, it doesn't here's the source code for everything.
No,
right?
but you can still data mine it.
Okay, sure.
You can still dump the script files and stuff,
and things like that.
And so,
Genshin Impact and games like that can't get around asset data mining.
There are ways you can make it infinitely difficult. You can never make it impossible. There's just it's irreducibly
right.
You have to have the key in
if there's enough demand from which the Genshin Impact people are rabid,
right?
So it's they'll come together as a group of people and spend as much time as necessary to figure out how to get into the assets and stuff.
Those assets for that game are pretty desirable because they're really nice and stuff. So I can understand people wanting to.
I don't know that it's that people want the assets to use for themselves, but more of a they want to oh my god, here's all these new character leaks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that tends to be the main reason I think people dump files and
it's not they're I'm gonna use this character model and
every time a new version of Pokemon Go comes out, someone dumps. Yeah, and Unity games are pretty easy to dump. I can do it. Okay. I can do the data mining for Unity titles specifically. I'm not too versed in that world beyond that.
Right.
But I know that if you dump my script files, it'll look like Alien.
Okay.
It'll look, because I have obfuscation going on. So you wouldn't be able to just dump it and read my game code.
Okay.
It doesn't look like C#. It looks like I don't know,
C-Rit.
A bunch of Swedish characters all in one constant string. But so anyways, I just wanted to readdress that and explain I don't anticipate my game being this big sensation that everyone wants to data mine.
Right.
I just want to protect my leaderboards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And my code, as well.
When I expressed hesitation, I wasn't thinking about the leaderboards, and that's why you're the guy who's making the game.
Right. So anyways, what I've been up to this week, continuing with what I was doing last week, which was data flow and going through and just stripping out all my deprecated code and my obsolete functions and methods and structures and stuff like that. And I have continued doing that and made a lot of progress doing that. Going through the level manager script, which is the script in the game that handles waves and processes the waves of enemies. Well, a wave can include enemies and the items, the objects, I guess, that fly by. So power-up items, the fallen matter, and reloads for ammo, limited, like special ammo.
Okay.
And whatever else. And basically just any object that is shootable that appears, is packed into waves that are packed into the level manager.
Okay.
And so going through that, when I wrote that script, I first switched it from just being a random, it just, randomizes infinitely enemies, putting it on this like wave schedule. I made a function within the wave object that is called yield, which basically when it processes, the level manager processes a wave, it gives like a 2-second interval, and it's on this time cycle. And so it spawns whatever's in that wave, and I can delay individual enemies spawning as well, so it's not all at once. I can have it be boop, 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 like, not just all at once. I can kind of like, what's the word? Like, scatter, or there's another word I'm thinking of.
Okay.
But, and then 2 seconds late, like, it times 2 seconds, and then next wave. Even if those enemies aren't dead.
Okay.
It'll throw the next wave.
Now, is this, when you say 2 seconds, is this on like game speed? Is this speeding up along with the game speeding up?
Yeah, it's scalable seconds.
Okay, gotcha.
So to make real time, like static real time in the game, I have to basically take in-game time times time scale, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if time scale is 4 and I want 2 seconds, I have to take 2 times 4 to get 8 seconds of in-game time. Okay. That's how I do that.
Okay. Is that incorporated anyway somehow into
there are things in the game that use real seconds.
Okay.
But this is not. It has to. It has
right.
to.
Otherwise, players would clear the thing and be waiting for new stuff.
Yeah, and they'd all fly in real fast. Yeah, and then 2 seconds. No, that wouldn't work. So, but anyway, so I have a yield setting that I wrote when I set up the waves, and what this does is it yields after that wave. So if I have a wave that gets processed that has yield turned on, those enemies will spawn, and it won't move on to the next wave until they are dead.
Okay.
Makes sense. This is for me to set up like gameplay moments.
Sure.
If I have like a level transition coming up or something into like a new round, and I'm gonna have like some animation play or something, I would use the yield setting. Well, I discovered, and maybe I knew this and totally forgot, but I don't think so. When either yield doesn't work, or it does work, and then every subsequent wave has yield. Like, not even turned on, but it's processing like it is yielding.
Okay. So you discovered a bug.
Yeah, so, yeah. And this code is like a few years old. So I have to address that.
Okay.
That's like a big deal, because that's the level.
Okay, like you can't start making levels until that's been addressed.
Yeah. Which I'm not ready to start like pounding out level 1, level 2 quite yet. But, yeah, that's going to be a huge hang-up if I don't fix that.
So is that... Are you
I have been investigating and working on that. I've come to the conclusion now that it's going to be best if because this is a long script, it's going to be best if I just start a new script and copy over code that's necessary and just restructure it and get it better organized, or and get that yield working properly. Just with a brand new script. If I sit there with the old script, I can spend hours and hours and get frustrated.
Right.
So I'm just going to do it clean.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So for our first news story, we're going to be talking about Shin Megami Tensei 5, which released on the Nintendo Switch in 2021, along with its various bits of downloadable content that have become kind of a standard practice thing for games developed by Atlus at this point. They go really crazy on the DLC these days. Like Persona games have, like, at launch, like all these downloadable demons and stuff like that.
I feel like Persona 4 is when that's really started.
Probably, yeah. I feel, yeah, and then ever since Sega got a hold of them too, in some ways, I feel like they've kind of doubled down.
That might have more to do with it.
You know, it used to be, this is like a kind of off topic, but it used to be that Atlus games would become very rare and expensive.
Yeah.
But ever since Sega got their hands on them, they're not rare. They end up getting really cheap nowadays.
They almost are treated like a mainstream title.
They are.
Like you'd expect from like Ubisoft or something.
Sega takes it seriously. So, I mean, that's good to see.
Right.
Rather than like just be this niche thing.
There is something precious about old Atlus games. I'm going to put it out there, like a copy of Jack Brothers on Virtual Boy is, I don't know, $600, $700 loose. Yeah. And then, like, there was the Tactics Ogre game on Game Boy Advance. Trying to find that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's an Atlus game.
Yeah.
You know, and you just know that.
Yeah. Okay, so in February of this year, Atlus announced that a new version of Shin Megami Tensei 5 would be released with a new subtitle, Vengeance. So now it's getting Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is coming. This new version won't just be on Switch. It'll also be on PS5, Xbox, and PC, and it comes out about a month from now on June 14th. Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance will offer the base content of Shin Megami Tensei 5 and all of its DLC baked into a new package alongside a brand new route for the story to head in, featuring new characters and party members and demons and things like that.
Right.
So Vengeance will also launch with its own small slate of DLC as well, because of course.
Right.
Now, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance also features some like quality of life updates not included in the original game to make certain activities more convenient for players. You know, maybe players had like some critiques or complaints that, you know, I don't like that I can only save in certain places or things like that. So I think now they're adding like a save anywhere feature, that kind of a thing.
Right.
So this all sounds fine and dandy, right?
Right.
Like, great. A new version of the game, more content added to it. Awesome. More platforms.
I mean, in some ways it's good. It's digital content, so that means it's not preserved on your disc.
Well, no, they're like putting out a new SKU completely.
Right. Okay.
Like a brand new package.
I see.
But last week on May 13th, Atlus made the following announcement across their social media channels. The original Shin Megami Tensei 5, Digital Standard, Digital Deluxe, and all associated DLC will be delisted from the Nintendo eShop on June 13th. That's a day before the new game comes out.
Interesting.
Previously purchased physical and digital versions will remain playable and re-downloadable after this date.
So they want you to buy it physical, or they want you to buy the new version, I should say.
Basically, it sounds like they won't be producing any more copies of the original Switch version. And you won't be able to purchase the original version on eShops or any of its DLC any longer.
This is an interesting approach, because it's almost like this new version is what was intended, you know.
Maybe. Let's get there. Now, I can kind of undersee from one perspective where it's like, well, players are going to be confused. They're going to buy DLC thinking it's for the new game that they bought, you know, and then it won't work, and then they'll just have wasted their money maybe.
Yeah.
But Atlus does this kind of thing all the time, whereas like they put out a game like Persona 4, and then a couple years later they release Persona 4 Golden. They release Persona 5, and then a few years later they release Persona 5 Royal.
Yeah.
And they've never once delisted the original game.
Yeah.
So why are they doing it for Shin Megami Tensei 5? And do you think this is this a problem? Is this a controversy? Is this something players should be upset about? I'm kind of leaning towards like they're literally erasing. Like if you bought the original game, right?
Right.
Like for example, me.
Right.
Maybe even you haven't played it yet, right?
Shin Megami Tensei 5? Yeah, I have it.
Yeah. So we haven't played it yet. Maybe we want to play that. We don't want to go spend $60 to go do that.
Yeah,
well, now we can't even buy the DLC for that anymore.
That's kind of, Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that.
And maybe we don't want the quality of life stuff that makes the game easier. That's going to be given to, you know, players who buy the new version of the game. Like while it is, they've said that the original game's route will still be accessible in this new version of Shin Megami Tensei 5. So, like, you still have the whole original story.
Right.
Because I guess the game at about the halfway point, you can kind of branch either into the new story route or you can continue on to the original route.
Interesting spin on, like, original Shin Megami Tensei format. Because it's usually around halfway that you make some moral choice.
Now, I think within each route, there are other endings. Like, I think Shin Megami Tensei 5 originally had multiple endings, but there's sort of like a key path you kind of go on, and now that's going to branch off to a new key path.
The DLC path.
It's not DLC, it's going to be baked into the new Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance game.
Right, the expansion path, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's on disc, it's on cart. You know, it's not like something you download.
This is something to chew on. I'm not sure how I feel about it, because on one hand, I do understand what you're saying, like, you're going to have all these DLC packets and, you know, downloadable content packages on the store, and people would get confused. I'd get confused.
Sure.
If I was just
It'd
walking.
It'd be real easy. You just search Shin Megami Tensei 5, and then all this stuff comes up.
Right. Man. I don't know how you get around it. Like,
but like I said, it's been just fine for Persona 5 and Persona 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why they would do that.
Like, to me, imagine you worked on the original Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Yeah.
You've now left Atlus, and now Atlus has decided they're putting out a new version of Shin Megami Tensei 5. And the game that you worked on doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, it exists within the new version.
I guess. Yeah, but who's to say? Are you in the credits anymore?
Right.
Like, I don't know. And the physical copies, thankfully, there's physical copies of it.
Right.
That will always be there.
Right. But you can't download any of the DLC for it. That's just...
You can download it if you previously purchased. So basically, when they put out this message on social media, they were letting players know, like, hey, you know, we're giving you a month's notice.
Yeah.
If you want it, you better get it. Now, if they had, like, heavily discounted all the DLC...
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I would, like, respect that, you know, at least. Like, charge a penny for all of it or make it all free or something. Because literally...
Or 50% off or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is weird. I don't know why you would do that. Because, if you have the original game and you want to play it someday, you know...
Atlus is telling you, go buy the new one.
Yeah.
Why'd you buy that one?
Basically, yeah.
So that to me says, why would I ever buy an Atlus game? I'll just wait until the expanded version comes out a year or two later.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, who knows how rare that original one will get, but...
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's probably more than 1 million physical copies of the original one.
That's true. I don't know. This is weird. It's like they want to force you to buy it twice.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
Of course they do. I mean, Pokemon does that.
Yeah, Pokemon does that.
But, I mean, that is a little different, and it's always been that way.
You're right. It's tradition.
Yeah. I don't know. This kind of stinks. Why would they do that? I really don't have an answer.
Yeah, I don't have a good reason for it. Like, why this one? Is this like an experiment? Are they going to start doing this with, like, Persona games going forward?
Yeah.
It's peculiar to me, for sure.
Yeah, I'm at a loss on this one.
Okay, so previously, a while back, we talked about Adult Swim Games. Warner Brothers Discovery was going to be delisting everything published by their label, their indie game publishing label, Adult Swim Games.
I remember that story. A bunch of... weren't indie devs complaining about it on Twitter?
Yeah, because Warner Brothers Discovery didn't want to, like, transfer like store page ownership over to, like, a different publisher.
Right.
Instead, they were going to be like, nope, the game's going to end, the Steam pages are going to go away.
Yeah.
And if you want to put your game back out there, you have to republish it yourself, and you have to, like, remove all mention of Adult Swim Games and anybody who worked there.
When we talked about that story originally, we were talking about Warner Brothers divesting a whole bunch of, like, ownership of properties and stuff like that.
Yeah, there was other things going on with Warner Brothers, and they've obviously been, like, shelving movies and stuff to get tax write-offs.
Right.
Warner Brothers has seemingly reversed course here. In the last week, a bunch of developers have come out to say that Warner Brothers is going to be transferring ownership of the games to them. And it's also worth noting that originally Warner Brothers said 60 days until everything goes away.
Right.
And all the games are still available on all digital platforms. And it's been more than 60 days at this point. So it's kind of a positive sign, an uplifting.
Yeah, it's a rare instance of a major publisher listening to the audience, listening to the outrage, and changing their mind.
I'm kind of shocked that they bothered at all. You know, I mean, like, they have people begging to see the Looney Tunes movie they shelved, and the Batgirl movie they shelved. Right. And so the fact that they, I guess, gave in, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's pretty messed up if, like, you don't even own these, like, game developers' IP. Right. You know, you just help them publish it. And again, this isn't Adult Swim Games making this choice. Right. This is Warner Brothers Discovery. Right. Forcing Adult Swim to, like, do this.
Yeah, I mean, imagine from a developer perspective, you get a publisher, you get a contract, you're excited about that, they publish your game on their Steam page and everything, and then they just decide to shut down their Steam page and your game is no longer on the market. Right. Like, you know,
Yeah. And then, so, like, especially particularly for Steam, if they would have to republish it, that means they would lose the hundreds, if not thousands, of reviews that are already posted on their product page. Right. They would lose any, like, community guides and things like that, screenshots and videos that people uploaded.
They still might.
Well, no. So the Steam page is going to actually be, like, the ownership of it will be transferred to the developer.
But there's multiple developers.
Right.
So who's getting it?
So each individual game page is going to go to its respective developer.
Oh, okay. So the reviews will stay and all that.
Yes,
got it.
All of that will stay. That was, like, one of the big things where people are like, well, who's going to find my game anymore if I relaunch a 10-year-old game with no reviews, no nothing. I don't have money to put in a market.
The page history is gone.
Yeah. Effectively. Yeah. So it would have been like a huge loss. Most developers probably wouldn't have bothered. Yeah. And it would just kind of be, that's it. Right. Those games would cease to exist.
Right. And I think we did talk about a lot of these games being digital only that never had a physical release.
And we had mentioned maybe, I don't know, Limited Run should look into helping some of these titles maybe get physical. And now maybe they can do that. Now that their kind of deal with Adult Swim Games is over.
Well, this is a good
this is a happy thing to happen. We don't normally have a lot of, like,
good news.
It's usually bad news and then more bad news, like, sometime later.
So I'm glad to see this. It's the last time I remember a company doing this, like listening to the online outrage and changing their mind, was the first Sonic movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's the only other time I can think of where, like, someone did that.
They delayed the movie, like, months and months.
They took it seriously.
Yeah. So I wonder how much, like, VFX work they had already completed, and they just had to throw it in the trash
I think the whole movie.
Well, the movie was still, like, a ways away from when they first revealed Sonic.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
I think it was like 6 to like 8 months away from releasing.
All of Sonic's on-screen presence is post-production, so I can see how it would be not an easy job, but
they're gonna have to get the humans to like reshoot their stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be different if it like affected the original footage.
Oh yeah, that would be bad. Like if they had gone with like a costume person instead. Oh man, could you imagine? I wish we got like a 1993 Sonic movie. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine? Yeah. What a train wreck that would be.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Something in the vein of like a Super
Mario Brothers movie. Yeah, exactly.
But Sonic.
It's all set in New York. Yeah.
That would be incredible.
Yeah. But anyways, this is great news. I'm really happy to hear this.
Me too. Let's talk shirts, yeah?
Yeah. We skipped last week.
We did. That was an accident.
We didn't even realize it.
No, didn't mean to. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. So
you want to take a look at my shirt first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
What do we got?
Stand up for you.
All right. Life cannot be reset, and it's got Rossetti from Animal Crossing, little sort of vector cartoon style. Mm-hmm. The shirt is white. It's a white crew neck T-shirt really cool. The text is like different shades of brown. I like it.
Yeah.
I hate Rossetti. He's like my least favorite.
Really? You hate him?
I hate him.
So you would not be caught dead.
I appreciate the uniqueness of how Animal Crossing handles resets and stuff.
The first time you reset your game in Animal Crossing, whether it was on purpose or intentional, and then you go to reload your game and you're greeted with this angry mole person, and he just chews you out.
Yeah.
Like, what a way to handle something like that.
And then it gets progressively worse the more you do it. Like, he has you start writing sentences. And, it gets bad.
Particularly in the original N64 and GameCube games, he's like... Well, even the DS game.
Yeah, Wild World was pretty bad.
He ended up getting more forgiving over time.
Yeah.
Like, where he would show up, but he wouldn't, like, be as mean to the player. And I don't know, if I have a criticism of Animal Crossing, it's that the original game, the one on GameCube, and even the DS one, they were like, but especially the GameCube one, and I presume the Japanese N64 version, because that's what the GameCube game essentially
basically,
is. It's just a localized version with some new stuff.
Animal Forest, I think it was called.
Yeah, Dabatsu no Mori. Like, they were mean.
Yeah.
The animals could be, like, they would call you fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and they would, like, ruin your items. Like, you would be carrying something, or, like, you'd be wearing some, like, piece of clothing. And they would, like, if it was on Halloween, you could have, like, your favorite piece of clothing just be, like, torn to shreds.
Yeah.
Like, permanently destroyed.
Yeah, wow.
Like, and, yeah, they would, like, stay angry at you and stuff. Like... I don't know. And now it's gotten a little too sanitized, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, it's too friendly. Even, like, the grumpy villagers are nice to you.
Yeah,
you know?
See, that's not great. Because I remember, at least in Wild World, you had a whole variety of different neighbors. And some were really sweet, just naturally. That's their nature. And others were jocks.
Yeah.
And then others were just... sourpuss mean grumps who like hated life, and any interaction with them was like negative.
Like no matter what you said, or like you would say something and then it would make them depressed and stuff, you know, and they'd be like for hours they'd have like the little like squiggly black lines above their head.
They just see you being happy makes them depressed. I do miss that. And with New Leaf, I think that's when it really, like...
That's when it kind of... I feel like with New Leaf, they lost... Like, I don't know. It's like they cut down the amount of dialogue they had. And they just lost, like, some of their personality. Yeah. To sort of make it more homogenous and, like, welcoming.
Right.
But, like,
I
don't know.
That's not... I don't want that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like, New Leaf and New Horizons are both fantastic games in different ways, but, like, I feel like they have downgraded the animal personalities. And that, to me, was, like, a big draw of, like, the original game. I felt like I shared a town with these people. I knew them.
I feel like that's a huge part of the game.
Yeah.
That's going away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Animal Crossing is that. It's your neighbors.
They're still there. There's still personality. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think everyone needs to be, like, your very best friend. Or if you want to become friends with, like, the grumpy ones, like... You have to, like, earn that friendship with them, you know?
And they give you their picture and stuff.
Yeah.
And certain neighbors are easy to get their photo.
Right.
But certain neighbors are really not.
Those things still exist within, like, the newer games. But, you know, there's ways to kind of game it. You know? And I guess you probably could have gamed it back then, too.
I did.
Yeah.
I know. I would be, like, super sweet, get their picture, and then, like, be super mean so they move out. So I can cycle through neighbors.
Right, I need to get all the pictures, all 300 of them. Believe it or not, there are people out there who do collect all the photos.
I tried.
Yeah.
It would, dude, it would be years.
Oh, yeah, years and years of work.
Yeah. But anyways, I like that shirt. I like that it says, life cannot be reset, because that's what it says.
Yeah.
That's basically the message of Rossetti. Like, that's...
Like, when you turn your game off without saving... Yeah. You have effectively erased like the villagers' lives that day.
Right.
You know,
you're like cheating life.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that.
And you're robbing like these, like the original game did such a good job at making you feel like those villagers, those animal villagers in your town were real.
Right.
Like you really felt like you would become friends with them.
Yeah.
Like you would think about them,
right.
You know?
What they could have done with the resetting and stuff is make all the animals mad at you. Like, you reset your game, screw you, kind of thing.
I mean, it's not enough that Resetti's mad at you.
Yeah, Resetti's horrible. I'd rather have that than Resetti.
Because another thing that was great, it would take up like 10 minutes of your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like when you would log back into your game, and if you reset your game, he would like chew you out.
He doesn't shut up. Like, he doesn't stop.
How much fun must it have been to like write that dialogue and like just know that the surprise was like waiting for players who thought something happened you didn't like? Let me just turn the game off real quick.
It works in every other game. Yeah.
Not this one.
No.
And that's what's just so brilliant. Animal Crossing was filled with all kinds of like discoveries like that throughout the whole game. I mean, nothing else quite on that level, but like every day you would discover something new, you know, and
that's how I felt with like Harvest Moon 64.
Yeah. That's another great example. And you know, I've always wanted to see someone marry the two properties.
Really?
Yeah, I've always thought like a real-time Harvest Moon has like so much potential.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Like having a real-time like clock in Harvest Moon.
But like also incorporating some other stuff from Animal Crossing too, like the development.
I want to see a Harvest Moon game that doesn't end after 3 years and just lets you continue.
Most modern Harvest Moon games are that way now.
Oh, or good.
Story of Season games are that way now.
Okay.
I think Friends of Mineral Town, as long as you get married by like a certain year, you can play in perpetuity.
Really? Okay.
So, but yeah, there were still some games, like I know A Wonderful Life ends with well, do I spoil this?
No.
Okay, yeah.
But I can tell you Boy Meets Girl freaking just ends after 3 years.
Yeah.
And like either you saved the farm or you didn't.
Game over.
Yeah. That stinks.
So yeah, that was one of the things I liked about Friends of Mineral Town, is that I could just keep developing my farm and you know. So yeah, I don't know. I think one day it would be really cool. I always thought, okay, if Harvest Moon's never going to do it, well, then Animal Crossing needs to do it. And I've always wanted to see Animal Crossing get into farming, you know, more than just trees. Yeah,
trees and flowers.
Which is cool. And then they kind of did a little bit in this game. You can grow like tomatoes and a couple other like vegetables.
Okay.
But it's still, I don't know, it just didn't quite... Didn't quite capture...
Have more Harvest Moon to it.
Yeah.
Livestock would be kind of interesting.
And I'd like
how would that work? Because your neighbors are all animals. Yeah. Like, how would you have sheep and stuff? Your neighbors?
I mean, yeah, I don't know how you handle the livestock thing so well. That doesn't really work, I guess. But, oh, darn it, what was I going to say? Then the other thing about Harvest Moon is that, like, on Tuesday, the characters are in the same place every Tuesday, no matter what. You know, at 12 o'clock noon, this character is always here, this character is always here. Like with Animal Crossing, there's a little more random, there's a lot more randomness to like where characters are at. Like, there's like sometimes like in Animal Crossing, you'll be playing late at night or whatever, and like a couple of your villagers are still awake in the town, and they'll like give you like a task, like, hey, you got 2 hours to go get this thing delivered to so and so, but so and so's asleep.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, well, you're screwed.
There's broken quest.
I don't know that I consider that broken.
Well, if you can't complete it because of things in the game,
usually it's never like 2 hours. It's like you have a whole day to do it. But like maybe at that moment you can't complete it. So it's like you got to come back tomorrow, like physically tomorrow, and like wait till they're awake and out of their house to go make that delivery. Yeah, I don't know, that kind of stuff. Just like it broke my brain as a kid. Yeah, like that a game could like be so
dynamic.
Yeah. Like it's just there was nothing else like it. I never played anything like. I mean, except for Harvest Moon, which was I feel like a precursor. Like I don't know that you have Animal Crossing
without Harvest Moon.
Yeah, I feel like there is some shared DNA there.
Sure. Yeah, I think so. I mean, well, you had Harvest Moon 64 on the 64, and then Animal Forest came out on the DD, was it? Or was it on 64 native? I can't remember.
I think it was native.
Yeah.
But maybe there was like a double drive because there was like 2 versions of Animal Crossing on the N64 in Japan.
Oh, that's true.
So maybe there was like a double drive exclusive.
Yeah, one. I thought I remember seeing it on the DD.
Yeah, but I mean, then there's 2 versions of Animal Crossing on GameCube in Japan. There's one without e-reader support and one with e-reader support.
Interesting.
And like there's like some stuff in one game that's not in the other, and vice versa. And the version that the West got had like special events and holidays that were just catered to our part of the world that like the team in Japan made. Yeah, that they don't have in their games. It's pretty wild.
That is, it's crazy.
That game has like, starting with the N64 base through all the GameCube releases, which are all like shared.
Yeah.
There's like 6 or 8 different versions, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about my shirt.
Yeah, your shirt now.
So you have the same shirt. So.
I have this shirt too, yeah. Okay, so you are wearing a black crew neck shirt. Mm-hmm. It's got a kind of blue circle in the middle of it, a PlayStation blue, you might say. And within it are various characters and cars. So I'll try to name some of these characters here. It looks like you have a character from Watch Dogs from Ubisoft in the top corner there. I think that's Watch Dogs 2. And then you have Nathan Drake from the Uncharted 4 like key art. And then you have the flying dog thing from The Last Guardian. I forget what its actual name is, if it has a name.
Can't remember.
It looks like some kind of Call of Duty looking guy.
Black
Ops.
Yeah, whatever.
Black Hawks Duty. And then very prominently you have Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah. They were really pushing
They were, yeah. And then you have the Mazda logo on
it's a Mazda car.
Is it some kind of car?
Probably from Forza or something.
Well, no, Forza's an Xbox
that's
game.
True.
So
what am I thinking
of? So it's probably Gran Turismo Sport was coming out at the time. So this is a shirt, I believe, from PlayStation Experience 2016 or 2017.
Is it on the back?
Oh, it sure is. So yeah, why don't you stand up so I can... So on the sleeve there is the PlayStation... Oh, and he just made a bunch of noise.
Yep, sorry guys. ASMR Experience.
PlayStation Experience 2016, and it says, I was there.
Yeah, I was there.
That's right, you were. And this was the first one in Anaheim.
Yeah.
Because 2014 was Vegas, 2015 was San Francisco, 2016 was Anaheim,
right?
2017 was Anaheim, and that was it.
That was it.
That was just
they switched to Anaheim, and then
they stopped. Yeah, around that time.
That's when a lot of transition was happening.
Yeah, Sean Layden was kind of leaving.
PS5, PS4 was on its way out.
Yeah, PS5 was prepping.
PS Vita was well on its way out.
Yeah, I mean, things were still up and running in 2016. Right. But it was only 4 years old at that point. But Sony had...
I'm talking about 2017, when it was ending.
Yeah. But even by 2016, like, PlayStation wasn't supporting the Vita, like, with first-party any longer.
They hadn't been... Like, there had been no first-party support for Vita since, like, the end of, like... It feels like 2014.
I think 2014, maybe a little bit of 2015, there was still some support. I can't remember if it was 2014 or 2015 that they came out with the PlayStation TV.
Yeah.
No,
it was 2014.
So it was only 2 years later that the PlayStation TV
came
out?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, I always wondered, was that like Sony trying to...
Because they launched PlayStation Mobile... And I think PS TV was already out.
Let's find out real quick.
Because I know, like, when I submitted Seraphim for PlayStation Mobile, publishing on PlayStation Mobile, all the settings and everything, options and stuff for PS TV support.
So you're right. 2014, October 14th in North America.
Okay, yeah.
So, I don't know. The PlayStation TV, I think, is this... I don't even know how it exists.
Yeah.
Like, what possessed Sony to make it?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. I'm so grateful that it exists.
Yeah.
Like, okay, players want to play Vita games on their TV. Let's give them a PlayStation TV.
I still need one, and I know it's getting expensive.
They're pricey.
Yeah.
You don't want to know the craziest thing?
Yeah.
Must have been a year and a half later. They were $25 new at Target. And I bought one. It was so cheap. Yeah. I bought a second one and gave it to our friend David as like a birthday gift.
Get it back from him.
And I don't think he
It's probably still in the box.
Touched it.
It's probably still in the box.
Yeah. So
David, you have my address. Like, just mail it to me, dude.
Okay, I know he's behind by like 10, 15 episodes, so it might be a while.
He'll get here.
He'll get here eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll send you a text. But yeah, I remember Target had like 3 of them, and they were just sitting there on an end cap with like the spider wrap thing around it.
That's always happens right before something gets extremely rare.
Yeah, and now like a new in box Vita TV is probably $200.
Yeah.
Even a used one goes for more than $100, I think. But yeah, cool shirt. I miss those days. I miss the PlayStation experience days. Those were
it'll never happen again.
Yeah.
Unless we get another Sean Layden.
Yeah. Okay, we got one last news story we want to jump into. Yeah. This one's a bigger one. So last week, the next major Assassin's Creed game was unveiled to the world via this like CGI trailer. Mm-hmm. It's called Assassin's Creed Shadows. The game was previously known only by its code name Assassin's Creed Red. And that was like something Ubisoft discussed like publicly, its code name.
Right.
But we had no idea what the setting was going to be or anything like that. And for those of you a little bit unaware about the Assassin's Creed games, they're set across various time periods and locations around the world. They usually involve various historical figures, real-life events, and there's this like secret hidden battle that's totally a work of fiction about the Templars versus the Assassins. Mm-hmm. So you have the Assassins who fight for free will and for people to be free, and then you have the Templars who seek to control the populace of the planet for their own personal gain. Basically, just like very stereotypical bad guys, you know, like the evil bad guys.
Right.
And it's got this sort of kind of like big conspiracy sort of like theme running through it. So there's a lot of like connecting the dots and. You know, it was fun, especially back in the day when the modern story wasn't total garbage.
Sure.
Now, Shadows will be the first game in the series to take players to Japan. They've never once visited Japan before, so players have been like asking for this for like 15 years now. You know, like come on, go to Japan. You know, we got ninjas, we got shinobi. You know, it's ripe.
Samurai.
It's ripe for Assassin's Creed. So the game will feature dual protagonists, a female shinobi named Noe. I can't remember how it's pronounced. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
And she has more of like a stealthy kind of approach, like a typical sort of assassin.
If she's a shinobi, she should.
Yeah. And then you have Yasuke, the armored samurai who has a more aggressive and kind of brutal play style. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's going to be like a game where you can take whoever you want into any mission, or maybe there's some missions that it doesn't matter who you play as, and then maybe there's some story sequences where you have to be one or the other. But you know, you'll be able to choose if you want to be like a more stealthy kind of person, or if you want to be, you know, kind of just more brutal and melee oriented. Like the trailer showed he has like a giant, like massive mace in one scene where he's just like slamming it down, crushing people. Pretty brutal. Now, if you've ever played an Assassin's Creed game, you may know that every protagonist of the series has been a complete work of fiction. But for the very first time ever, a real-world historical figure has become one of the protagonists, and that's Yasuke. He is one he is a real world person, but not a huge amount of information is truly known about him. Mm-hmm. There is some historical records that make mention of him.
Well, hold on a minute. We have had historical figures in Assassin's Creed.
No. Playable, though, as, like, a protagonist.
Okay.
Yeah, so typically the protagonists have just been a total work of fiction, you know. Now, Yasuke is not actually Japanese. Yasuke's real name is not even known. He arrived in Japan alongside Portuguese missionaries, and the most powerful man in Japan at the time became fascinated with Yasuke, and this is Nobunaga Oda. Now, the reason why he became fascinated with him was because no one in Japan had ever seen a black person before, and Yasuke was like from Africa, black person.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I mean there are records, like Japanese records, where like apparently Nobunaga thought like he like painted his skin every day. But anyways, Nobunaga ended up like really falling for this guy in a way.
Yeah.
So much so that he would take him in as one of his vassals. He would give him a sword. He would give him a stipend, and even gave him like his own home and property. And the missionaries basically said like, hey, yeah, if you want to hang out with Nobunaga, in exchange, Nobunaga is letting us like, you know,
right.
I don't know, what do you call it when you spread your word, proselytize or something?
Yeah. Proselytize, I
guess. And so Nobunaga would die about a year or so later, and Yasuke would find his way back to the missionaries, and after that, there's really not much known about Yasuke. It's estimated that he was, you know, only in Japan for about 3 years. Now, so here you have, like, a person who we know was real, kind of existed at an interesting time period in Japanese history, particularly having had relations with Nobunaga,
right?
Who's at the time like, you know, the most revered like person in Japan,
right?
And so he seems like a great character in my mind to like okay, let's expound on this guy, let's make stuff up about him, you know?
Right. I mean, when it comes to historical fiction, this is me.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I really don't like it when people change historical facts.
Right.
But it's perfectly acceptable to include all the historical facts and then expound with imagination.
Exactly.
That's fine. What I hate.
Okay.
And again, this is me. It's okay if you like this, but when historical fiction, quote unquote, changes the outcome of World War II, that kind of thing, I can't stand that. Like,
so you don't like, I know there was this show on, like, Amazon. I think it was based on a book called Man in the High Castle. And it was, like, what if Germany won?
Right.
And so it's, like, now it's set in modern day.
So this historical what if approach to historical fiction,
it's not for you.
It's not for me.
It's not
at
for
all.
you.
At all.
Okay.
Like, I can't even respect it.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. But this seems like they're doing a good job.
Okay.
I like what I'm hearing with all of this Nobunaga and Yasuke.
Right.
I think it's long overdue. I don't know why they haven't done this in previous Assassin's Creeds. We've had, like, you know, my favorite, like, I haven't played any of this crap.
Okay.
But my favorite expansion still is the Tyranny of King Washington.
Okay.
That is, like, the coolest.
See, I never played that DLC. That was it was like a what if DLC for the third Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, something like. So you told me that.
Okay.
So that's all I know about it. But like just the art.
Yeah, I remember the art. Yeah, it's got this like monstrous looking.
Yeah, he's like malicious. He's like sitting on this throne with like the flag behind him. Yeah, dude. But yeah, I mean, historical figure right there in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, they have not shied away from interacting with historical figures. I mean, there have been, like, popes and stuff. And, like, you interact with Leonardo da Vinci and, like, the Ezio games, you know? But it's like, I mean, did Leonardo da Vinci ever meet Ezio?
Right.
No, because Ezio's not real.
Right. Well, we don't know that. Like, technically, we don't know that. I know that he's made up by developers, but you can't prove he wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? And that, like...
Could you imagine if that's how life worked? Like if you just wrote it.
Yeah, and it just existed in history. But I mean, like, with my own work, my own writings and stuff, like, I'll do that.
Okay.
And you can't prove it didn't happen.
Right. You're not saying that Leonardo was alive 100 years later.
Right.
You know,
right.
You're putting this fictional character in a situation where he could have possibly
been there. Exactly. Right. And when you write something historical fiction that can be proven that it's BS, to me that's just bad and wrong. Okay. That's just bad writing. Okay. And that's why I have such a problem with like the what if historical. Okay. Because I can prove that show didn't happen because the Nazis didn't win. Okay. You know, like, you can get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think Assassin's Creed is one of those series that kind of goes to those confines as well. Like, they don't alter history in some kind of significant way, you know, like if this Pope guy or whatever died in, 1643. Right. And it just happened that in this game an assassin killed him. Right. You know.
Well, but I mean it would be cool in that situation in the game if they made like that hidden from the public, right? And he got poisoned, or however so he actually
publicly died. It's he fell, he died on his sleep.
Or however it is historically,
right?
That would be.
They do incorporate stuff like that. Yeah, so they get the dates right. They get the places right. They get all of that right.
That's how you do historical fiction, in my view.
Yeah, I agree.
So this Wolfenstein Return to Castle Wolfenstein, with zombie Nazis. No, okay. I just
okay. So like we were saying, he seems like a person who's ripe for exploring. Like, what else did he get up to in 3 years? Let's fill in the gaps. You know, he was there for 3 years. We're setting our game in that same time period. Right. You know, we know he was a vassal under Nobunaga. Like, let's fill in the blanks. Right. So in fact, he's already been a character in a bunch of video games. Well, maybe not a bunch, but several video games.
He was in a game that I beat, and that would be Genshi.
Oh, he was. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's in Neo.
Oh, okay.
He's known as the Obsidian Warrior in that game.
Got it.
And he was in the Samurai Warriors series of games. I think maybe just Samurai Warriors 5, which is one of those like crazy hack and slash, like you versus like massive armies kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And not to mention in Japan, he's been in all kinds of manga and anime over the years. Like, they kind of like him in Japan. Yeah. He's kind of a big deal.
It sounds like he's a legend.
Yeah. But for some reason, gamers are mad.
Why?
Well, you could probably draw some conclusions, but let's kind of go over two of the main reasons why gamers are mad. Mm-hmm. Some gamers are arguing that Ubisoft only chose Yasuke as one of the protagonists to fulfill some kind of diversity obligation.
If you're going to do diversity in a game, this is the best way I've ever seen anyone do it. Okay. Like, you're taking an actual black historical figure and putting him exactly where he belongs. Right. This is perfect.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know that it's... I mean, I have to imagine when you have, like, a game like this... They probably did their research. They probably know he's really popular in Japan. Mm-hmm. They probably think, okay, we're going to make a game that like Japanese gamers are going to want to play. So we could give them some no-name Japanese male protagonist that we just made up, or we could put them in the boots of like an actual historical figure that seems to be enjoyed by people over there.
So Japan actually has a lot of figures like Yasuke. Like Goemon is another legendary historical figure who actually existed, and there's a lot of like myth around him.
There's all kinds of video games and manga and anime.
Right. And so there are I don't know a lot, but there are options. Yeah. But they went with this guy. What's wrong with that?
Right. And is Goemon, I mean, I'm sure they chose like a time period they wanted their game to be set in.
Of course.
And so it's like, they have to choose someone who was actually there, so maybe Goemon wasn't an option,
right? Right. I mean, yeah, if they had already like outlined and done the research, because when you're writing historical fiction, you have to really establish, when it takes place and stuff beforehand, probably before you start writing anything else, right? So yeah, if Goemon wasn't around at the same time as Yasuke, you'd have to make a completely different game centered around him.
Yeah. So there's the diversity thing that some people are upset about. They think like it's just an intentional decision by Ubisoft to shove diversity down people's throats.
I understand getting upset about diversity. Like, I understand criticisms about that in games, in modern games. This is like the one example where I'm like, yes, this is great. This is perfect.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing why anyone can be upset about this.
Right.
Like legitimately. Now, the other argument that some people are making is that, and that it's people on behalf of like Japanese players or Asian people who are saying that basically they're erasing like a potential Asian protagonist.
This is white Westerners saying this, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there's still an Asian protagonist. There's two protagonists in this game.
Yeah.
You're getting like the typical Assassin's Creed, total fiction protagonist.
Everyone else in the game is going to be like natively Japanese, I'm sure.
I'm sure it's probably just Yasuke who's not Japanese.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a very particular time in history where, like, I mean, I guess there might be some foreigners in the game.
If they were making him up completely and he was a fictional character, then maybe you'd have an argument for the whole diversity thing.
Yeah.
Because there wouldn't have been a black man in Japan. There wouldn't have.
Eventually there would have been.
Yeah, but not at this time period.
Yeah. I mean, this was the first documented case.
Right. But like there was.
Yeah.
There actually was.
Like there are Japanese records that he existed.
Yeah. So, like, yeah.
But I mean, we know he came with missionaries, so we do know that like white people are probably, or brown people from like Portugal and Spain and stuff are maybe there.
Right.
Japan isn't like they're letting out some outsiders in depending on like what part of Japan you're in and stuff like that at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see the game. I probably won't play it for 5 years.
Yeah. It's a really big undertaking. Any of these games in this franchise, I think.
After Syndicate, which is the game I'm playing right now, instead of just like making a game set in one city or like set in several smaller cities, they went to the massive sprawling open world with multiple cities and like deserts and forests and fields and that kind of a thing. So like what used to be a 30 to 40 hour game is now an 80 to 120 hour game.
Right.
It's a real big commitment to like going all in on Assassin's Creed game and try. It's impossible to just like, I'm only gonna do the main story. I'm gonna ignore everything else. And there's too many interesting things going on around you everywhere.
And I don't get playing games like that.
Yeah.
I don't. It's a world. They made a world.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Do we know, or do we have any quotes or anything from like Twitter or anything?
No, I didn't include any like exact quotes from people, but I wanted to talk about real quick. We talked about people complaining that like Asians are being erased, by having a a black protagonist in the game, right?
Right.
So, but let's go back to Neo for a second.
Yeah, as a white European guy.
Yeah, William Adams.
Yeah.
Who actually is also based on a real life figure.
Yeah, and you start out the game in Neo in a tower prison in London.
Yeah.
And then he gets moved to Asia.
Okay.
So it doesn't start in Asia.
And I don't remember hearing a single complaint
about
William Adams.
Right.
And Neo.
Right. About him replacing Asians.
Yeah. I never heard that argument.
Right.
I bet you people in Japan were like, cool.
Yeah, he was a cool character.
Yeah.
He really was.
I don't know. Yeah, again, I think some people on both sides of the playing field are overly sensitive about some of these things.
The issue itself is, radioactive.
It is.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
So do you think Ubisoft had any idea that they were potentially like stepping on a landmine, with this one?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I mean, there's almost no way.
Yeah. How do you not?
Yeah, I mean, there were probably people internally who had these same thoughts about, like, when it was presented to them, like, you know, the people who signed off on, you know, okay, go make that game with those characters, you know.
You don't really know intentions, but you can infer and try to speculate. But I think there are a lot of definitely individuals, if not entire companies, that I think want to kind of move past this period of just
decisiveness,
high sensitivity, and just kind of push it past. And maybe this is kind of that kind of effort.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, if you're trying to make your game more diverse, do it in a way
this is the best
that
way.
applies.
This is the best example of doing it that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, there might be other examples, but this is the perfect way to do it. And transmission.